All right, what is up, everyone? Super excited for today's video. We got to talk about the Bitcoin seasonality cycle and some of the projections why I have a $150,000 price target for Bitcoin during this next cycle push. We're going to go over some really amazing charts, starting off with this one, some of the seasonality from Almanac Trader. And we've got another one here from Macro Charts, really just going over how the elections and the past elections have been a major catalyst for Bitcoin. All right, and we've got some stuff from Larry Thompson, just some beautiful bases, okay? And we can go over, how these are one of the strongest technical patterns that you want to look for, large multi-year, multi-month base breakouts. Against all odds, research has got some info here on how Bitcoin is squeezing currently at the moment and how once this squeeze fires, that's typically good for both Bitcoin and the stock market. We'll also talk about the possibility of the Ethereum catch-up trade. Okay, you can see the difference here in the price of Ethereum and Bitcoin in terms of performance and how there could be a potential catch-up trade in Ethereum. We'll go over how we got that $150,000 price target for Bitcoin. And then we'll also go over just the bases right here. We can see multiple bases resolving to the upside during this bull market and this bull cycle. So the big question is, where is this next base going to resolve? We've also got a nice little weekly cup and handle chart. We'll take a look at Solana, okay, how Solana could potentially be going up into the 900s to potentially even 950. Now, I know that sounds ridiculous given where it's at, but you have to remember how some of these altcoins move and how they catch up. And in terms of performance, a lot of times these can outperform Bitcoin by a lot. You take a look at this weekly chart right here. We've also got a very large base forming right here, a nice multi-year base, very similar to many of the other charts and patterns we'll look at in today's video. And we'll actually talk about some crypto stocks, right? We've got a nice list here from Andrew Moss going over MicroStrategy, RIOT, Wolf, Hut, Coin, Cores, and Mara, and the short interest in all of those stocks. And we'll break all of those down, starting with MicroStrategy, and then we'll dive into, RIOT. We'll take a look at Wolf. We'll take a look at Hut, Coin, Cores, and Mara. Going to be a great video. Be sure to smash that subscribe button. All right. Like the video as well. Really help me get to that 10K, guys. I'm trying to hit my goal of 10K subscribers by the end of the year. And I would love if you guys would help me out with that. Now, I do have a completely free newsletter for you all as well, giving out free, valuable finance and trading related content. You guys can sign up for that using the link in the description. You can check out the website, read some of the previous articles, see if it's something that you want sent directly to your email inbox. You can also join the Investment Intelligence private trading group using promo code Powell to get yourself a really nice discount. Now, inside of there, you get 20 plus swing trade ideas every week, custom scripts and indicators that I use on a daily basis, exclusive intel, and exclusive chart layouts. All right, these are some of the results from some of the different option trades we have, and from some of the different products that we've got inside of there. So if you're someone who's looking for swing trade ideas, right, anywhere from a week to a month to 2 months, the Pulse Radar is going to be you, okay? So you'll get access to the Pulse Radar, all of the indicators and custom scripts that come along with it. You'll be able to get those as well, and that's going to be your short-term swing trade list. You can see that call options went up on PCG well over 1,000% on the shorter dated call options, and then the longer dated call options went up well over 200%, just absolutely crushing it. This was the original post. We got our buy signal, and here, you can see it rallied and crushed all of the bullish price targets to the upside. Then we've got the zone finder. Okay, the zone finder is going to be people for looking much more rapid fire style of trades. Okay, these are going to be intraday to swing trades. So these sometimes can last and they can hit their price targets in one day. Sometimes you need to swing them for a couple days or a week or two. So we've got the, rapid fire, the zone finder, finding stocks in demand zones, ready to make actionable trades. We've got the Pulse Radar for people looking for a little bit of a longer term, a little bit more passive swing trading. You can get access to all of those inside of the Discord if you get the, full access, or you can purchase those individually, right, for whatever your style is. I actually debuted the initial trade idea, the very first one from the Zone Finder in the Investment Intelligence newsletter for free. And that play went up well over 100% in 1 or 2 days. So that's, kind of a little sneak peek into what the indicator looks like. It draws the demand zones for you. It draws the supply zones for you, and it gives you very favorable risk to reward setups. All right, so sign up for the newsletter. That's completely free, or you can join the Discord. Now let's get into it with Bitcoin. We see Bitcoin breaking out on cue with seasonality. Now this chart may look a little messy here, okay? But you want to pay attention to the orange line right now. That's where we are. We are the orange line. Okay. And so far we're tracking a low. Basically, we're putting in the low for Bitcoin a little bit early potentially. But remember, the orange is where we are right now. That's our current year. Take a look at what seasonality has for us, right? We see the 2011 to 2017 and 2018 to 2023, and then all years in black. We see that November, December, very, very strong, right? We typically see a strong rally for Bitcoin during those time periods, and that's exactly where we are right now. So seasonality does suggest that Q4 is going to be good for Bitcoin, and that most likely, if we're going to follow seasonality, we're going to resolve higher in a lot of these bases that we're looking at in chart patterns. Now, this is a really amazing chart right here going over the election days. You can see election day 2012, Bitcoin went up over 10,000% afterwards in roughly 1 year. Election day 2016, Bitcoin ran up roughly 2,500%, over 2,500% in roughly 1 year. Election day 2020, Bitcoin went up almost 400% in roughly 1 year. And we've got election day approaching very, very quickly. So where can Bitcoin head within the next year? Now, notice the scale, okay? The scale drops down 10,000%, 2,500%, almost 400% here. So is it likely that we're going to see a similar run that we saw in the past where Bitcoin goes up 10,000%? That's very likely, right? Or 2,500% in 1 year. Those are very unlikely scenarios just due to the sheer market cap and how much the market cap has grown in Bitcoin. It's going to take tons of money for us to go up 10,000%, okay? But this is a very good pattern, okay? And it's worked in the past. It doesn't mean it has to work this time in the future, but it's a very good thing to compare. And when we look at what we have these days, we have, again, just a very nice base, and we're going to look to see if we can resolve these bases to the upside. Now, this is a great chart here showing those bases. Again, just in a different way, all right? You see the 2016 election, strong base, massive breakout, right? Strong base, massive breakout, strong base, and here we are consolidating here in front of the 2024 election, all right? Then again, we mentioned the Bollinger Band width. So what we're seeing right now is a band squeeze. Whenever this is at the very bottom, this means that the Bollinger Bands are very tight. Okay, if you're someone who uses the Bollinger Bands on a technical analysis basis, you know that whenever the Bollinger Bands are contracting very tightly and squeezing, often that leads to a volatile movement in one way, whether that's the upside or the downside. And this chart just kind of, provides a little bit of a technical basis to some of the, prior data saying that Bitcoin could be due for an explosive move. The band squeeze suggests that as well. And we'll just have to see how this resolves, if it's to the upside or not. But this often signals a risk on shift that often leads the stock market higher, okay? And take a look at how the stock market's been performing. You can see the 2020 election, we also had a strong performance afterwards in the S&P 500. And in the 2016 election, we also saw a strong performance in the stock market as well after the election. And you take a look at where the Bollinger Band width was during these points, we were squeezing. We were at a squeeze, right? Over here, we were at a squeeze. We were at the lower bounds of the Bollinger Band width chart. This means that, the Bollinger Bands are squeezing. And then whenever they're up here at the top, these are bulges, okay? And this is when the Bollinger Bands are expanded really wide and often coming to a contractionary period afterwards. So lots of things are setting up for a potential really good year in 2025. And really potentially in the rest of this year of 2024 for the cryptocurrency markets, specifically Bitcoin. Now, one thing that's been lagging tremendously has been Ethereum. So if we talk about the idea of a catch-up trade, and maybe you're someone who's likes to do catch-up trades and things like that, Ethereum does present a potential really nice opportunity here for a catch-up trade. We've got Ethereum in blue and Bitcoin in red right here, or I'm sorry, black. And you all can just see, right? There's oftentimes where Ethereum is outperforming, and there's oftentimes where Ethereum is underperforming. But in a general perspective, and from a general view, these two typically will move right around together. And that's just not the case that we've seen in Ethereum. Now, this is setting up a nice base here, just like Bitcoin is on some of the charts we'll look at. But it's just much lower than its all-time highs. So, keep an eye on Ethereum, right? Maybe this is one that you guys can potentially look for a catch-up trade if you're interested in trading cryptocurrencies or some of the crypto ETFs. Now, Bitcoin, all right, is setting up, in my opinion, a nice five-wave structure to the upside. Now, not to dive too much into Elliott wave theory, this isn't an Elliott wave theory video, but oftentimes Elliott wave basically just describes that markets tend to move in five-wave and three-wave structures. You get a five-wave impulsive move in the area of the trend, and you get a three-wave corrective move, okay? We have three waves to the upside, clearly identifiable, coming right around that 77,000 mark, okay, which is just a rough price target. And look at where we're at. Okay, so we've already come up and came towards wave 3 territory here, and I think we've hit our wave 3 targets. Wave 4 is notorious for being sloppy and messy, and I mean, just look at this, right? So many times this thing has just been zigzagging around and really just consolidating and building a base, below those previous levels there. And this is often what you see in wave fours, right? It's very hard to time a wave 4 bottom and to confirm when we've begun a wave 5 structure to the upside. But a lot of this is setting up, right? And if we can start trading above 77,000, I think that's going to be a good signal for Bitcoin and a signal that we could potentially be in wave 5, at which point we'd be looking for, some type of five-wave structure to the upside. And this is going to put us around that $150,000 price target. Now, what better catalyst than the presidential election, right? We just saw all the data of how after each election, Bitcoin has rallied well over 100% over the past years, or in roughly a 1-year time period. So for me, this is a good end of 2025 price target, maybe perhaps heading into 2026 and the first half of 2026. We could see Bitcoin, everyone's obsessed with 100,000. We could be seeing Bitcoin around 150,000 during those times if this Elliott wave analysis is going to play out and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to the upside. Okay, so that's where I'm getting my 150K price target for Bitcoin at in the future. And we'll just have to see how this base resolves and if this is a completion of wave 4 heading and starting into a larger cycle, wave 5 to the upside. And again, these bases throughout bull markets, these are the patterns you guys want to be buying, right? I mean, you see a nice base here, you break out over the breakout level and strong move to the upside, right? Same thing over here. We have a nice base and then we rip higher. Nice base, we rip higher. And here we have yet again another nice base forming. And the question is, what you want to be making your bets on is this going to resolve to the upside or is this going to resolve to the downside? And if history is going to repeat itself, and we continue to be in a crypto bull market, all right, then this base should resolve itself to the upside. So we'll just have to see and monitor this and how it portrays and if it pertains. Now, there are some other ways you can look at this. This is a nice little cup and handle that I've drawn here, right? Nice large base, and then we're consolidating around that base breakout level here, forming a handle. If Bitcoin can really start to break out and hold above 69,000 on a weekly time frame, our next stop is going to be 83,500, and then above there we've got right around 100,000, and then look what pops up again, guys, that 150K price target. So these are going to be a little bit of my shorter term price targets, for Bitcoin, 83.5 and 100K. But over the next year to potentially year and a half or 2 years, we're going to be looking for that 150K price target if this base resolves to the upside. Solana, yet another one. Okay, Solana showing signs of, again, a larger five-wave cycle to the upside, 1 up, 2 down, 3. And again, we're seeing a lot of signs of a messy wave 4. I've become accustomed, okay, to liking and identifying these messy wave 4 setups, right? Especially when wave 3 comes right around to where the extension levels should take it. And that's what we saw in the Bitcoin chart, just a couple price levels right below it. And here we're seeing it topped out right around those levels. And we're going to see if this can resolve to the upside, start trading above 200 and closing above 200 on a weekly time frame. Again, that could send Solana potentially all the way up to 950. All right. Now, when you look at this is a huge base right here. Okay. So Bitcoin has really been dancing above its all-time high base, shuffling above and below, above and below. Solana just hasn't been able to really make new all-time highs, but it's had a tremendous rally off of the lows. And again, we're looking to see if we can get that wave 5 breakout, a shorter term price target above 250. Okay, so above 250 on Solana. So your short term target is going to be right there around 250. Above 250, you're targeting 400, and then the 600s right here, the low 600s for Solana. And then obviously, this is going to be that multi-year price target of 950 to the upside afterwards. Now, as far as crypto stocks, there's lots of ways that you can gain leverage to crypto in the stock market. And that is oftentimes via these crypto stocks. Okay. They have a higher beta related to Bitcoin, even though Bitcoin's already typically a high beta name. All right. So let's dive into the first one here. MicroStrategy. See, breaking out from all-time highs, dancing right now at its first Fibonacci price target of 225. All right. Above 225, MicroStrategy next price target 363, and then you have 587 to the upside. This is a shorter term chart. Okay. This is a monthly right here. And you can see all of the different price targets there to the upside. On a shorter term chart, look, we had a nice base that resolved to the upside. Okay, so if we come in here and we just draw a little bit of our base breakout level, something like this, we see a strong move to the upside. And now what did we do? We settled up a base right here around its Fibonacci price target here. We formed a nice base, came out, broke out, hit the next Fibonacci target, which was there at 248. All right, and now I'm going to look to see, does this drop back down and potentially form another base, above 158? Or do we consolidate here and form a base just under 248 and look to see, can we break out above 248? That's going to be what I'm looking for in MicroStrategy. Specifically. Now, as far as something like RIOT, okay, and these are all names that have high short interest, right? When you take a look at these, there's very high short interest in a lot of these names. All right. Look at RIOT right here. Well off its all-time highs. Okay. So, if Bitcoin's going to potentially double, over the next year or two, what does that mean for some of these other stocks, right? There's definitely a reason why these stocks aren't trading at all-time highs, and that's something you have to consider when you have Bitcoin dancing around all-time highs. But in terms of high beta exposure and where some of these names can go, and if we are going to rally hard in a bull market, there's some potential for a lot of these stocks. RIOT, we're dancing below the all-time high VWAP, which also lines up with the 38.2% Fibonacci level, roughly at 15. Okay, so if this can break this trend line here, this multi-year downtrend that we've been in, and start trading above 15, RIOT has got a lot of room to run, guys. And we're talking about potentially coming up to the hundreds. To 122 is going to be our next Fibonacci target here. Obviously, there will be some resistance levels right along the way, right around 69, maybe around 45 as well. But when you look at the larger grand scheme of things, we reclaim this anchored VWAP from the all-time high. That'll be the first time that bulls are actually in control of price action for a very long time, for decades. And that could be potential smooth sailing back up towards this Fibonacci target up here. That we're looking at, okay? Because that's one thing you have to remember about the VWAP, okay? When prices above the VWAP, buyers are in control. When prices below the VWAP, sellers are in control. And sellers have been in complete control of RIOT for decades, right? We see, false breakouts over here, false breakouts over here, false breakouts over here, false breakouts over here. And here we've just been rejecting that same VWAP. So I really like how it aligns very well with that Fibonacci level. And then you can use this anchored VWAP as a little bit of a trailing stop loss if we start to trade and hold above 15, and you're looking to stay in a position, but you want to manage risk. You can use that anchored VWAP as a little bit of a trailing stop loss, in my opinion, for something like RIOT. Then you've got Wolf. Okay, Wolf looks really well. Okay, we're forming a very large base here. Again, a multi-year base below its 61.8% Fibonacci level at $8. above 816, this thing looks good to long up towards 1712. Okay, that's going to be its next shelf between 15 and 17, that little bit of a range right there. That's going to be the next target for Wolf. Look at this one, reclaiming the 2021 high anchored VWAP, and we can see bulls are in control, right? What did we do? We had a little bit of a shakeout, right? We had the VWAP shuffle here, right? VWAP shuffle. We're just, shuffling around this VWAP, ultimately trying to decide if buyers or sellers are going to take control of price from here, while also rejecting the 38.2% Fibonacci. And look what happens once we get a clear breakout above that Fibonacci level. We start closing above it on a weekly basis, right? On a weekly time frame. That's something that I keep mentioning. And what do? We come out, we retest that anchored VWAP, we retest that Fibonacci level, and we make higher highs, right? So we've been in an uptrend now for about 2 years on Wolf, right? High, higher high, higher high, higher high, low, higher low, higher low, higher low, higher low. So, we'll look to see if Wolf can break out again above that 816 level, and that sets up a potential move back to 15 to 17. Let's talk about HUT. Okay, HUT. You take it back to its initial prices, right? Its original highs and its original lows, and look at how well it's respected these Fibonacci levels, right? We come up here, we put in a top right around the 423.6% Fibonacci extension. We come back, we retrace, and look what we're doing. We're setting up a base below that initial breakout level. Okay, so this looks good. Above 1872, we're going to be targeting 2915. All right, call it 25 to 29 upside targets above 1872 on HUT. All right, that's what we're looking at here. We see that this one is trying to reclaim that all-time high anchored VWAP. We've seen it shake out here. We've seen it shake out here. We've seen it shake out here. The question now is, does this become yet another shakeout that resolves to the downside? Or potentially, is this going to be, the time where we hold that anchor VWAP and rally up towards that 25 to 29 price targets, right? So, these aren't trade ideas for you guys to take right now. I'm not saying everybody has to take all of these trades or that any of these trades are guaranteed to work. But when you zoom out and you start looking at some of the cycles, the seasonality, the election, and how it's impacted Bitcoin, and you start looking for, okay, well, what are some ways I can potentially increase exposure? These are a lot of different charts that you guys can look at. And then you can dive into them a little bit further to see if any of them fit some of your criteria. But for something like this, I mean, we're already above that anchored VWAP. If you wanted to jump the gun, okay, and jump a breakout, before we break out that 1872 level, you can again use that all-time high anchored VWAP as a trailing stop loss, right? It's trading just right above 13. Let's just maybe call it 1350 or something right now. We're trading at 16, so you're risking 250 to the downside to potentially make 9 to 13 to the upside. So that's a very favorable risk to reward ratio. And that's how you guys can think about a lot of these things is, hey, how can I set myself up with favorable risk to reward ratios of 2 to 1, 3 to 1, 4 to 1, and greater, where your reward is going to outweigh your risk. And there's a lot of these names because risk management is very important, especially with cryptocurrency and especially with the high beta cryptocurrency related stocks. These things are extremely volatile, and if you're not prepared, you can really lose a lot of money. So keep all of that in mind. Coinbase, another one looking fantastic here and very clean in terms of that 5-wave Elliott structure. We've got wave 1 up, 2 down, 3, and I told you guys I love it when we're seeing the wave 4 or in wave 3 topping out around the levels it should. We've got a messy wave 4 right here. This one honestly might be one of the cleanest with an A, B, C to the downside, that 3-wave structure. And if these are the lows in Coinbase for wave 4, then we're potentially starting that wave 5 process to the upside. If Coinbase breaks its all-time highs, let's just call them right around 450. Coinbase, you're going to be looking at 672.50 for an upside target in Coinbase. And again, a lot of this is dependent on Bitcoin and the election cycles previously, potentially having the same impact on the price now. Over the next, year and a half to 2 years, if we see similar results where Bitcoin is doubling and Bitcoin goes up 100%, well, then you have to ask yourself the question, what are some of these high beta, crypto related stocks going to do? Are they going to double? Are they going to triple? What are some of the potential, outcomes of these, right? What if they just stop mirroring the price performance of Bitcoin, and what if a lot of these start to tank, right? These are also possibilities. So there's lots of questions to ask, but I just want to present you guys with some really amazing charts, some really amazing data, so that you guys can be prepared and kind of start working on what your thesis is and where a lot of these things could potentially go. Another one here is Course. Okay, this is Core Scientific Inc. Not too many people know about this one, but look at how well this one's been respecting its Fibonacci levels, right? You've got the previous high, you got the lows. We retest this level here as support, right? Continue to push up higher. We break out above our next Fibonacci target. We come back, retest it as support, hit the next Fibonacci target, come back down, have a little bit of an oops here, right? Where we have this one candlestick that just, opened well below, but very strong buyers pushed it back up to its previous Fibonacci level. And once above there, we continue to climb up higher. And now we're trading above our 261.8% Fibonacci at 1175. Above 1175, this thing looks good to continue climbing up towards the next Fibonacci target as it's done over the years. And we're going to be looking at potentially 1739 as your next price target, and above there, 2650 as your next price target. So keep all of these in mind. All right. We've got Mara as well. This one's setting up very nicely here also. What I like about this one is not only do we have a base forming underneath the 61.8% Fibonacci, but we also have a potential bullish continuation pattern here with a falling wedge or a bull pennant, perhaps some people would call it. We're not here to argue over semantics, but the prior trend into this is clearly up, right? You've got an uptrend, right? You've got an uptrend. Okay. And this is a continuation pattern to the upside, a bullish breakout. If we see a bullish breakout in this, this could start a really strong move up into tomorrow. So what I would do is I would take a look at the most recent pivot highs that we've got here, right around the beginning of 2024 / end of 2023. And if we can reclaim that, which look, that aligns almost perfectly with the 61.8% Fibonacci here. If we can get above that level, then Mara looks good to potentially break out of this continuation pattern to the upside and send it up into the high 20s to 30s. Again, longer term, you're going to be looking at potentially the 70s on Mara, right? Maybe even the 50s on Mara. And, if it really wants to, right? If we were to draw a little bit of a trend line, something like this here, let me get a straight drawing tool. Okay. So we do something like this. This is a possible area that we could reject. Okay. But let's say we get this continuation to the upside. We come up here to the 50s and we're able to break out of that. Well, then you're going to be looking for a move back up to, previous highs. Now that's a very, very far away. Okay. I'm not saying that Mara is, destined to go up 1,000% or 10x. Anything like that. These aren't guarantees, but these are how you want to think of some of these things, right? We see, these are all large time frame charts, right? So these things aren't going to happen in the coming weeks. We're not looking for all of these type of targets to hit over the next week or two or over the next month or two, but potentially in years, right? That's how you can think of a lot of these charts. And how I would think of them and how I'm thinking of them. All right. Now that wraps up today's video. If you enjoyed it, remember you can join that investment intelligence private trading group. I post charts like these all the time inside of the inside of the Discord. Promo code Powell gets you guys a very nice discount for joining the group. And I'd love to see you guys in there. Remember, you get 20 plus swing trade ideas every week, custom scripts and indicators, exclusive intel, exclusive chart layouts. If you don't want to pay for full access and get access to all of the different trade ideas, you can sign up for just the Pulse Radar. Again, that's for people looking for a short-term swing trade list, right? For swing trades, basically, 3 months or less, right? For anywhere from maybe a week, a couple weeks to a month, a couple months. The Pulse Radar is going to be for you if you're not so much of an active trader, actively looking at trades every single day. All right. We've seen really great results. All of these are filtered to have good option liquidity. So it's not really an option call out service, but each one of my products and tools and resources that I have available for you guys, such as the Pulse Radar, the Zone Finder, and those things, they are filtered for stocks that have weekly, liquid options typically. All right. Then there's the Zone Finder. Okay. That's going to chart supply and demand zones for you. This is going to be much more of your, faster paced trades. Okay. So some of these day trades, or some of these are day trades, and the bullish price targets are hit within a single day, and you can get out and get in and out, and get in and get out, right? Sometimes they take a little bit longer, right? And you see an initial breakout, but it hasn't hit the targets yet, and it needs a couple more days, or maybe it needs a week or something like that to hit some of those zone finder targets. And then once you've already doubled your money, you can leave the rest of the play in there as what we call a runner, right? And then it's a risk-free trade, and you can let that thing run, baby, and see how much higher it has to potentially go. The very first zone finder trade idea was debuted inside of the Investment Intelligence newsletter. Okay. And I'm just saying that to you guys because I try to put out high quality content. Okay. So, I'm asking you guys to sign up for these things, not to waste your time, but because, it's information that I would appreciate if I wasn't someone creating this content. I would really appreciate the type of content that I'm putting out. And I think you guys will enjoy that as well. Again, just in a very, very short period of time, we see that this trade started working. We ended up getting a very strong breakout off of this falling wedge. We also, were able to enter in the zone finder entry levels. Again, the zone finder is going to chart demand zones for you. It's going to chart supply zones for you. So the hard work is out of the way, right? And that's what the whole process of these is. I'm a retail trader, and I know what retail traders want. You guys want answers. And a lot of times, the answers sometimes can be too complicated, or they can be too subjective. So what I've done is I've created products that take the questions out of there for you. When should I buy? Right? Well, that's what the pulse radar is for. When the pulse radar goes off, that's your buy signal, right? The zone finder. Well, how do I find stocks that are trading in a demand zone? I created something that charts the demand zones for you, scans for stocks in those demand zones, and then you can look and take the setups available inside of those demand zones that you find favorable. The zone finder is going to give you guys 2.5 to 1 risk to reward ratios, 3 to 1, 4 to 1 risk to reward ratios sometimes. And those are the ratios that you guys want to be looking for. Now, remember, the newsletter is completely free. There's a website associated with it. Go back, review that. All right. If you guys want a taste of what's in store, you can read some of the previous articles. There have been some really amazing trades inside of the newsletter and really good articles published. Check that out. Sign up for that. Link is in the description. And if you ever want to book a coaching session, right? Let's say you're a little bit confused about things, or you have some, questions, or maybe you want to go over day trading strategies, swing trading strategies, things like that. Feel free to book a coaching session on my Ko-Fi page by clicking the commissions tab, and in there you can book a 30-minute or a 1-hour session. They also have this really cool buy a coffee button, which is basically a way to leave a tip or donation for all the free valuable content that I put out, and help support the channel, help support the newsletter, as it is just me, and it takes a lot of time and effort and resources to do all of this. So thanks again for watching. Be sure to smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, help me get to that 10K subscriber goal, and I'll see you guys in the next one.